Howdy peeps, and welcome back to the channel again. This time for a review on what is actually quite an old kit, and I don't think available anymore. That is the Ding Hao T34 85 from Battle of Berlin 45. I'm mainly filming this because Gary wanted to see a review of an AFV club kit, and aside from the what they call it, the bed spring armour, this is basically the AFV club full interior kit. And as I said, it's out of production now, getting hard to get, and I got it for a sensible price. Well, sensible silly price. It wasn't stupidly expensive, but I still paid quite a bit. So other than that, what is in it is the AFV club kit. Now it's a top opening box, much like the inner boxes you get with the Zvezda kits these days. And I have already filmed this once, and I got a bit carried away, and it ended up being rather sillily long. So I thought I'd try again. So obviously everything's already been bags opened. We'll start with the upper and lower hulls as I untangle them. They do fit together really rather well. A little bit of adjustment because the back end on this has pulled itself in a little. As you can see, it should be more out there than in there, but that's not a problem to fix. And it's what we expect from an AFV club kit. Clean, nicely moulded, sharp detail, thin plastic. Obviously it's the interior version, so we've got all the various little cables or linkages already pre-moulded in, unlike the mini art one where they're all separate. And if we look at the sides, not a huge amount of detail, but there's quite a bit to go on, so that's not a problem. Underside quite well detailed as well. And same with the upper hull, we've got nice subtle cast texture on the mantlet. There's a few little flashy wispy bits here and there on the edges, but I'll say I don't think it's that old a kit. I think it's more that AFV Club have made so many of them, but you know, it's the moulds are getting a little past their best. Now the tracks, it does come with rubber band tracks, unfortunately. They are, if they weren't mullered from being bent up in the box for however many years, they are beautiful rubber band tracks. And they're thin, they're really nicely detailed, but as you can see they're somewhat twisted up and deformed, shall we say. So I shall be replacing those, but this kind of kit, it will benefit from some nicer tracks. And if I was putting it on a diorama, I'd probably go with frills being workable, as it does have a workable suspension as well in this. But as it's going to be on just static and sat on a shelf, I will go with probably the Mini Art aftermarket Indie Links. So we start with just random first sprue that comes out of the box, being a sprue C. I will zoom you in a little so you can see a little better. And yes, there's something really strangely on the piddle here, but never mind. Let's have a look. So we've got, make sure I'm looking at the actual screen rather than the bench, and I'll be able to see what I'm showing. But the suspension unit, some smaller greebly parts. I won't try and name them all. I probably could have a good go at it. Upper deck, again clean, crisp, nicely detailed. Driver's hatch, oxygen cylinders, MG ammo drum racks, and I'm not sure if that's the rear plate or the inner bulkhead. I think it might be in the inner bulkhead rather than the actual rear plate of the tank. Because we do obviously have the full engine and interior. Second sprue, we have another of the suspension units. The batteries, some seats, lots of greebly tiny little fiddly parts, which is what AFE club kits are like. Lids for stowage boxes and a hatch. I think that might be the rear hatch. Radio. Some of the levers and parts for the interior of the driver's compartment. And some more interior detailing parts for the inside walls. As you can see, we've got all the cables moulded into that nicely. EPMs. Now, it is an AFE club kit, and they do tend to have EPMs in awkward places sometimes, such as the back side of this plate, which if I get it in shot you'll be able to see. We do have some ejector pins on there. All depends on how open you're going to do the tanks. If you build it and you just either close it up or just open the hatches, you probably won't be able to see that anyway. And the same with the interior of the suspension. Where the actual suspension runs, there's an ejector pin in there, but you've got a suspension unit and spring in the way, so chances are they won't be visible either. Well, I say chances are, I know they won't be visible. Now, individual wheels with individual tyres. I won't actually pull it all the way out because a tyre's a tyre. So that does mean you can paint the wheels and then the tyres, and you don't have to bother masking anything. They do have the usual tread pattern, unfortunately, as is the usual case as well. We've got 4 sprue gates on there, which means by the time you've sanded those down, you either end up with 4 flat spots on the tyre, or you just end up having to sand virtually all the tread off, which is a bit of a disappointment, but hey, I'd rather have plastic ones than rubber ones. And as you can see, these from the T35. I sanded off the sprue gates and just made the rest of them look kind of scuffed up and worn, so you can do it that way. Next sprue. Do these actually have, yeah. Well, it's dated 2009, so it's a 9-year-old kit. Yeah. Again, the same crisp levels of detail. These are they the fenders? Yeah, they're the front fenders. Parts of the transmission, the rear upper deck, more and more in rear transmission parts, upper deck. Fenders. I've got to remember to look up when I'm zoomed in rather than look down. More interior greeblies. We've got the gun breech guard, parts for the breech itself, little hatchy bits. The radio itself does look really nice. I'll bring that up, hopefully it'll focus in. There we go. Very nicely detailed radio there. And again, we'll probably have ejector pins all over the back, yeah. But it's one of those things where, yes, they're there. If you're building it, even if you build it wide open, all the hatches open and everything like that, chances are you're not really going to be able to see much in there. And AFE Club do a clear hold version of this. That is sprues of wheels, but I think were there 2 bags of these? Or, I didn't get them out last time. But yeah. Road wheels, dish press steel type. Again, clean, crisp. Got all the bolt heads on there. A little bit of flashing on the back, but nothing too bad. Clean up moment in. Put my teeth in. Have a swig as well, I think, while I'm at it. So it's kind of flash that will clean up in moments with either the back edge of a knife or with a sanding stick. Oh dear, excuse me, it's a bit early, it's a Sunday morning, I was up late, I haven't slept well, so I need plenty of caffeine to get me through the first few hours of the day. And onto the sprue containing the sprockets and idlers. As you can see, we have two different types of each. Again, there's which ones are used, or actually three different. So which ones are used depends. Some of the suspension arms, again, I mean, there's nothing too great to talk about on those. They are just suspension arms and they disappear pretty much. The final drive covers, other fiddly little parts. The I'm assuming they're smoke dispensers. They are slide moulded, so they're hollowed. Same with the tow hook or the tow cable ends. And again on the back we have similar ejector pin marks. Again, it's nothing too hard, nothing too tricky to clear up. It wouldn't have been as popular a kit if it was a pig to do. Obviously they do versions without the interior. I think you can get them for around £30–35. So not an expensive kit by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, I think the only one sort of similar detail wise on the market it will be by Dragon, and yeah, we know how much that's probably going to cost, probably nearly double. So we have the turret moulded in multiple parts. We have the same cast, nice subtle delicate cast texture. It's not overly done as it is on some kits. To the turret, weld seams, front lower glacis plate, turret bottom, sorry, more hatches, commander's cupola ring, rear plate, turret top. Nothing too much to say there. Again, similar levels of detail, hundreds of thousands of ejector pin marks. They are all pretty shallow, so they'll be easy to get rid of. Right, in the most part, some of these ones on the top of the turret would be a pig to clear up, but quite how you'd ever actually see the bottom of the turret roof, I don't really know, unless you remove the turret and look up into it, which is not something I'm planning on doing. I tend to glue my turrets in place. Mainly because, I mean, it's not often that people actually touch my models or even look at them, but some people have a tendency to pick a tank up by the turret and then they'll get it a few inches up and then the ting, and the main hull drops off the turret. Yeah, so this sprue A, is mainly the engine and transmission, and we can run through this again. This actually does put me in mind of the Mini Art interior kit engines. I think it looks to go together in about the same way, a little more simplified, but nothing over the top. It's just really nicely detailed. I mean, the that's a timing wheel, or I don't think it's a flywheel. You can see very delicate teeth on it, and it's moulded with the sprue gates on the top so you don't mash half the teeth off of it when you're trying to sand it up. And then we have the fan, which from that side, yes, lots of delicate little rivets on it, but when we flip it over that way, there's one heck of a piece of moulding, and yet again very similar to the Mini Art, and also very fine, so I can almost see light coming through the fins on that. So one to be careful of when we're putting it together. we don't snap half the fins off. But then, being a Russian tank, that would probably be more accurate than it having all of them on there. Next up we have the final sprue of grey plastic, which is our ammo. We have a few different kinds. The engine hatch covers, ventilators, more ammo racks, dozens of tiny delicate little grab handles, the last two suspension parts, ammo stowage for the turret floor, gun mantlet, which does have a heavier cast texture on, but they generally did and do, and the ubiquitous Russian fuel barrels, which are they slide mold? They are slide molded, so no big horrible seams to deal with down the side of the barrels. You just got the end to glue on, which makes life a lot easier when dealing with the cleanup. And again on the back, ejector pin marks, but hey, we're getting used to that. At least unlike some AFV Club kits. Was it the Paladin I built? The ejector pins on that were actually stubs rather than indents, and some of them were like half an inch long, or a centimetre long, sticking up. Next we have some of the shiny poncy parts, so we just shake these out of the bag and get ready to put them straight back in. Firstly we have clear parts, which periscopes, light lenses, so nothing spectacular there. They're clear, crisp, no bubbles in them. They'll do the job, perfectly adequate. Aluminium gun barrel, turned, drilled out, it's not too deep, but it's deep enough to be good enough. Always nice to get one of those in the kit. Then we have, as I was saying earlier, the workable suspension. We actually have the springs for that, which I know some people complain about it as a gimmick, and it may well be, but they're going to look far better than a moulded solid, no, plastic's damper with the spring over it, moulded as one. They never looked quite right to me. And then this bag, I'll bring it up a little closer, is just all the little brackets and angles for holding on the bed spring armour, which there is quite a lot of for this, and it's going to be interesting. See if I can solder onto those. There are going to be some very delicate joints, and I don't think super glue would hold very well. So we'll pop all these bits back into the bag so we don't lose them. He says the bag's open at both ends. There we go. Pop it in the bottom of the box so it doesn't go anywhere. And the next bag contains the decals, the photo etch, and a piece of string, which string for tow cable, no thank you. So we'll pop the etch to one side. Decals is just half a dozen plain white numbers, basically. Just the turret numbers. They're probably not even going to show unless I get the angle perfect. Yeah, that'll do. AFV Club decals are never the greatest, but no. As long as we can get them off the backing paper, they'll do the job. It does say Ding Hao on there, but we know it all comes out the same factory. Let's see, AFV Club, Ding Hao, Hobby Fan. At least those three are all the same company. So then we're on to the photo etch, and we have the standard etch set for the hold it in shot, for the T34 with the engine grill, a little saw and all the various tool straps. And that saw does have the teeth on it, so you could actually use that as a photo etch saw if you wanted, but it's some of the thinnest etch I've ever seen, and I wouldn't necessarily want to try it. And that piece is actually thicker than these pieces, which are so delicate. And this is the bed spring armour, so actually getting the edges of that bent over and then soldered and all attached together could be rather tricky. And that's one sheet of it. And I mean, you can see it's flopping under its own weight, it's that thin. And we have the rest of the bed spring armour, grates and grills there. So I shall stack those on top of each other to keep them a little flatter, pop them back in the bag and pop that in the bottom of the box so that hopefully it doesn't get bent. So, because I think putting that bed spring together is going to be tricky enough, let alone if it gets bent. Now we have the fun part, because I've done what I normally do, where I take everything out of the box and stack it on top of the instructions. So bear with me a moment, I'll try not to hum a tune to keep you occupied, because I'll probably get a copyright strike. And I shall zoom back out again. Oh, keep the camera that way up sharp, might help. Oh, my camera mount's come undone. I'm going to have to hold it. Right, well, it's a standard AFV Club instruction list sheet. Bit of bump about the tank on the front. Just basic colour call outs and onto the construction. Starting out with the suspension, then the interior. As you can see, it's all pretty much clear, shows exactly what you need to see. Clearly marked, not too much going on in each step. I'll try and just go through page by page. Engine, rest of the interior, the upper deck, all the various little bits going on. And yes, I'm rushing through this bit. Start of the bed spring armour going on, and the turret going together, and then the paintings and markings, which is Russian green and white. The only problem will be painting the white stripe around the turret. I have to do that before attaching the bed spring armour. Right, and on the back, sprue map and order list, but you can only order it if you're in Taiwan, which is a bit annoying. So, as my arm's getting tired, I'm going to hold it up and try and hold the camera still too. I hope that covers everything that you'd like to see, Gary, and anyone else who was interested in what comes inside an AFV Club or a Dinghao T34-85. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, click like and subscribe. If you didn't, let me know why. Just leaving a random thumbs down doesn't help anybody, and to be fair, they don't really bother me anyway. So enjoy your modelling. Peace out. Rock on. Bye bye.